So the iPhone 10 has been out for a couple weeks now, the phone of my dreams, or so I thought. After using it and adjusting to it, I couldn't help but realize there are so many oversights and features that Apple didn't add that they should have. So I wanted to talk about 15 things that would make the iPhone 10 perfect that can be added in a software update. The first one on the lock screen. We know there are two toggles, one for the flashlight icon, which I love, and one for the camera. That one's a bit superfluous. You can just swipe over to get into the camera. Why have it there? Give us control over these toggles and let us choose whatever we want to be able to quickly access them from the lock screen. And it does get a bit tedious swiping up every single time to unlock your phone. I mean, I do this at least 200 times a day. Give us the option to do it just by waking our device and looking at it and have it unlock automatically, much like the rest finger to open option on the devices with a home button and Touch ID. I like that one. Bring it over to the iPhone 10 and make unlocking our phone a lot easier and faster. And on a related note, we don't use a button on the iPhone 10 until you put it to sleep. Unlocking it, waking it, and the gestures don't require a button. So give us the option to actually power the device down or make it sleep with a double tap, maybe a double tap with two fingers, something to make it flow a little better and remove the need for a button to power it off. And something I noticed, a lot of the stock system apps show the home button bar on the bottom. It takes up a little bit of extra space that could be used for your content. And this is something that doesn't even need to be there because everything is gesture based. Once people do get the hang of it, I think in iOS 12, Apple will remove the home button bar to give you a little bit more space. Just something that I thought doesn't need to be there because the gesture doesn't require it. And one of the most controversial software features of the iPhone 10 would be the access to the control center, which is very difficult to use. On the top right of the display, using your phone one-handed makes that a very difficult gesture to access. So I propose that Apple put it somewhere else, make it easier to use. Some developers envision that it could be available from the side with a 3D touch swipe. And in the leaked HomePod firmware, Apple is actually testing out a version available in the app switcher. I thought that would be pretty nifty too, just an extra step though, so that one may not work. Also, I've heard of a solution where from the bottom right you would just swipe up and that would activate it, basically reverse the orientation from the top to the bottom. Also, maybe swipe down, replace the functionality of reachability with the control center, or maybe 3D touch on the home bar. I mean, there are so many better ways to do it where you can use it with one hand. And one of the more infuriating things that annoy me, I'm so used to swiping up on apps to dismiss them that in the iPhone 10 I always have to go back in, hold it, and then swipe up again. Why did Apple complicate this? I don't know. Just bring back the functionality where you would swipe up on an app in the app switcher to close it in case it freezes or something like that. And the one I thought surely Apple would get to with the iPhone 10 and the organic LED display, a dark or night mode that takes advantage of the organic LED power savings where pixels can be turned off and they automatically appear pure black. Not to mention a dark mode is just easier on the eyes. It's very pleasant to use. I use it in the Apollo Reddit client and it's just very comfortable, especially in darker environments. Not only this, but it saves you a lot of battery life. As some say, it does even help mitigate burn-in on the organic LED display. And with the iPhone 10 and the bezels, I think it would work super well. I don't know why Apple hasn't done it yet. And a test performed by an Apple insider shows that you can save nearly 60% battery life by using an extreme dark mode on the iPhone 10. I think this is something that Apple should incorporate into a low power mode, more of like extreme low power mode, just in case you have an emergency and you need every single minute of talk time or browsing time as possible. This way it'll use the organic LED panel to your benefit and possibly even a life-saving situation. And I think an obvious one that Apple overlooked, the always on display, something that doesn't take much battery life at all, just to have some notifications, basic information on the lock screen to enable you to just look down at your phone and get some information without having to open it up and unlock it every single time to see the very same thing. Something I really want on my iPhone 10. And I think a great utilization of Face ID would be to use Face ID to auto-orient your device. This way, instead of using gravity and the accelerometer, you would use the position of your face relative to your device in order to auto-orient your device. And it would be cool. It would drain a little bit more battery life, but I think a great way to do it would be just to scan your face every single time your device triggers a rotation change. This way you can view videos comfortably. And definitely one area Apple can improve on is utilization of that longer display on the iPhone 10. Within the keyboard even, there is a lot of wasted space on the bottom. And I understand there is a comfort aspect to this. You don't want the keyboard too low because it would be hard to use, but I actually made a couple mock-ups, what I would rather Apple do. So just shorten the space on the bottom, add a number row, keyboard number row on the very top, which is something I've always wanted on the stock iOS keyboard. Or here's another example just like this. And this Twitter user actually envisions the bottom of the keyboard to show emojis, most used emojis emojis much like the touch bar does on the MacBook Pro. Kinda cool, I guess. In 10 years of iPhone, the volume HUD has hardly changed. In fact, it's only gotten worse, less transparent with time. I think Apple should take note from the Apollo Reddit client. In the very top left, you can see a very adorable little volume indicator that takes advantage of that notch. I love it. I want it in stock iOS. And my most infuriating complaint about the iPhone X is the accidental screenshots that happen all the time. It's seriously annoying, and I hope Apple fixes it. I don't know how, but they need to. And the fact that we still can't jump into the camera application and change our settings on a device as complex as the iPhone X is so annoying, especially when you have so many video modes, so many resolutions and frame rates to choose from. I think the iPhone X needs an in-app camera settings changer. I think a great example of this would be from the OnePlus 5T. You just slide up to get into different modes, and then there's a little settings icon right there which you can use to change the resolutions and more complex things. And it really bothers me that when I'm sometimes waiting for something to load, I don't know if I'm waiting for it to load or if it froze because there is no loading indicator on the iPhone X. The one that Apple showed off in the keynote is nowhere to be seen, so I'd like to see one. Also a bonus, the ability to restart your device. Just add another slider in the power off menu so we can reboot instead of having to wait and then powering it on manually afterwards. And there it is, my complaints with the iPhone X. Now all of this is stuff that can reasonably be changed in a software update, so I do have hope that with time it could improve, and I hope to see it in iOS 12 or even before. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.